take projection.
Welcome to Taking on Sports once again, y'all. I'm TD. That's Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
I am all right. How are you today, sir?
I am pretty good. I'm currently watching my fantasy team get carved up by four players. My entire team is played or playing. This dude only has 4 players currently playing, and he's beating me.
Yes.
And my team's having a good day. But
they're getting carved up.
He's got Mixon number 1.
Yeah, that's
so
one of my matchups. That's one of my problems right now. I'm going up against guy Mixon too, so I feel your pain there. He's just destroying him.
Career day. Yeah, he's got Mixon.
Carolina.
He's got Justin Fields having a career day.
Yeah.
He's got ETN, and he's got the New England defense. So he's just working me. But what can you do? Laugh about it, right?
Right? Yeah.
Laugh about it, and we'll get to business here. And not a laughing matter. Alabama goes down in Baton Rouge. First time since 2010.
2010, yeah.
To Brian Kelly. That's dumb. We might spend a while on this one, y'all, so buckle in. I don't even know where to start. 32-31 overtime. I guess we'll start in the offense. Hell, let's start in the offense. It started good. That first drive looked great.
Went all the way up the field.
Right now, no problem. Good. Just none. And
got down to the 2 and
then Bryce tried to do a little hero ball, which, that's part of what makes him so great, but threw the bad blind pass, picked off in the end zone, and then, the offense didn't even show back up until the fourth quarter after that. Again, that's what makes him great, but sometimes you wish Bryce would just take that sack or throw that ball through the, into the back of the end zone.
Or just run the ball from the 2.
Yeah, just run, you don't want him to take that big hit on that shoulder, I guess, but yeah, just.
No, but I'm saying, why aren't we running the ball?
Oh, yeah. Let's get to that. Let's get to Mr. O'Brien there. Why are we doing shotgun drop back passes on the 2-yard line? Yeah. I mean, later in the game, we scored a touchdown. We just lined up and ran it. It took 3 tries, but we got in. So why not in overtime,
Almost look like what we have come accustomed to over the years, running the ball within the 5-yard line.
Mm-hmm. It's just it amazes me when you got a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who's averaging 6 a touch or something. Yeah, obviously the best playmaker on the team. After that initial drive, like we said, looked good until the interception, and then Gibbs didn't see it again for 4 or 5 drives. We went 3 straight 3-and-outs after that, all passes.
Yeah, all passes.
It's amazing.
Obviously, the offensive line's getting slaughtered. You got to change something up there. That freshman, number 40, he was in our ass all night.
Yeah, and you're trying to figure out what the problem is. Obviously, we got a problem with Bill O'Brien's play calling and his coaching. It's just you got to identify your best player.
Right.
That's what made. Now go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say too is, for a lot of that game though, Bryce looked somewhat off last night. I mean, his reads were a little off, and of course that comes from not practicing a whole lot. It didn't sound like he's had limited reps, and so at that point, if you've known that he's had limited reps, he hasn't been, and he's had some off drives where he's not. Latu had a couple of wide open. Normally they hit connect on that didn't work, and he wasn't running at all. And that's been going on in practice. You got to play to that strength. You got to know, hey, if we haven't been doing this much, let's not go to it right away. What are we doing? I don't understand it.
Yeah, exactly. And the worst part of it, at least that irritates me the most, is we had a bye week to map up a game plan for this.
Exactly, a bye week.
And, we've seen...
And usually we're great out bye weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And I had all the confidence. I knew it would be a tough game, and you worried about the team, and there were penalties again, in a tough road game. But you're like, we have Nick Saban, and that's Brian Kelly over there. And in their past matchups, it's been no problem. And we thought that maybe he get Bill O'Brien the message that, hey, man, let's control the clock. Let's run the ball. Like, obviously, our receiving core is not up to snuff this year.
Yeah, it's not what we're accustomed to. I mean, we do have some freshmen that show, some potential. But
I mean, yeah, it's, Bond, those freshmen, Brooks, we like
Bond and
Brooks.
Kobe and Brooks, I mean, he had some good moments, had a tough drop at the end there, but
Yeah, but, Brooks made that good play on that incredible
yeah, he
play
did.
that Bryce had. He had the
That
awareness
was
to, break up field and get wide open.
that was amazing. You would have thought that was the game winner right there.
Mm-hmm. Well,
You would
yeah,
have
and
thought.
that's probably a good transition into our defense, who played great for three
Oh my
quarters, and
God!
then once the offense got humming and actually started getting the Tide some points and pulled in the lead, I don't know. I don't know if it was like a prevent. I mean, the biggest glaring problems I saw on those drives were not spying Daniels, who was just an
Like what?
outstanding running quarterback.
We've known that since Arizona State. This is
Yeah, we've known
nothing
that for
new.
4
He
years.
runs the ball. He's a running quarterback. That's what makes him that's what opens up everything else for him is his legs.
Yeah, exactly. We've known that for 4 damn years. He had that big
It's
upset
no
of Oregon a
surprise.
few years ago, knocked them out of the playoff
Yeah,
race.
2019.
Mm-hmm.
So this is nothing new.
Nothing new. Not spying him at all in that big. He had that big, what was it, 3rd and 7 conversion. He ran for about 20 yards, like no spy.
Yeah,
Running
no
only man
spot.
coverage, no zone, just only man coverage. So those guys' backs are turned to him.
Yeah,
And then that read option was killing us. We're not setting the edge. We're not playing contain. Like,
like I don't know what's going on with the defense. And, some of it, I think it just starts with we have no dogs on the defense.
outside of Will and Dallas Turner,
And the thing is that sometimes even Will at the biggest moments,
kind of disappears.
sadly, he's
Yeah.
been MIA at points through this year when we really would have liked to have seen him come through.
Yeah, you just need one big sack, one strip sack, something like
If
that.
he had
Yeah.
had a big sack on, Hendon Hooker a couple weeks ago, if he had I mean, we got some sacks there yesterday, but it wasn't Will at all.
No, yeah, we got good pressure yesterday, again, until that fourth quarter. And then,
And in that fourth quarter, but the thing, yeah, but I was saying we don't have dogs,
mm-mm,
and we don't have a defensive leader on the field.
mm-mm,
We don't have someone that's going to get in your ass if you mess up.
mm-mm,
There's not a Reuben Foster. There's not a Rolando McClain. There's not a C.J. Mosley that's going to get in your ass.
mm-mm. Yeah, no Eddie Jackson back there,
We have nobody that's going because it's one thing for your coaches to get at you, but when you have someone on the team that's going to get at you, I think that's when you really are gonna. That's who you're going to respond to. The guy you're on the field with.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have that. Will's a hell of a player, but he's not the guy that's going to get in you. Toa is our middle linebacker. Usually that's our leader. I mean, he's average at best. Probably our worst middle linebacker in I don't know how long as far as just overall.
Another
We
roughing the
know,
passer penalty, even though that was questionable. I didn't like that
yeah,
call,
well,
but
that's
he seems to
questionable.
get one of those every other game.
Yeah, I don't know. He's too sloppy for being a senior. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're too old for that type of stuff. Like
Yeah, and no ball hawks. The lack of takeaways is incredibly concerning on this defense
yeah,
for as many good players. And you wonder, obviously scheme's part of the problem, and players not
right.
executing, that's part of the problem too. You can't blame it all on the coaches. They can only do so
It's
much.
not all on, but if we've seen that certain schemes aren't working, certain things just haven't worked all year, we got to play to our strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't do that,
We don't adjust, yeah. And,
we have no adjustments.
if fundamentals are, slacking, then why aren't we hammering them home in practice? Or, and, if we look at the root of the problem, all right, let's go a little bigger picture here. Maybe we've missed on some recruits that we thought would be better than they were, haven't panned out.
Right.
But again,
Yeah.
how much do you point that back to coaching and lack of development?
Yeah.
One of the
'Cause,
big defenses of keeping Pete Golden on for so long is that he's an amazing recruiter. He's a great closer.
yeah,
He gets those guys in there.
exactly.
But that only goes so far because you got to get. Who else was a great recruiter at Alabama? Mark Godfrey. You got a lot of
Terrible
great
recruiter.
players on that basketball team and then
And
never develop them. And if you don't
yeah,
develop
just
those
a terrible
players,
coach.
yeah, it don't matter.
That's a whole different story. Oh, buddy.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah,
it's tough.
some of it too. Yes, I mean, yeah, we still get recruits. They're still the top notch. Some of it, we're maybe not getting as what we once did because NIL has opened up a lot of opportunities for other schools everywhere. So the transfer portal has changed some things. So we're still getting, great, but it's still, I guess, more balanced. And maybe some of it has to do with that. But at the same time, like, our defense shouldn't be that much different or that look that much worse than, the likes of a Georgia. I mean, we have the same type of talent as far as on the field. So, I don't understand, like, how we're so light years behind at this moment.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second when we talk about Georgia's win. But yeah, we're getting the same classes that Georgia's getting. We're there's no reason, like you said, that the talent shouldn't be making plays. We should be getting more turnovers. We shouldn't be making so many dumb mistakes. We shouldn't be having this many penalties.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's part of. Again, to look big picture, you just gotta like, why aren't these guys developing and reaching their potential?
Exactly.
Why aren't we making the proper adjustments? You hope maybe that this offseason, Nick's maybe had enough and we'll finally do some reshuffling. And, again, one of the defenses I've seen to keeping on guys is Nick, Coach Saban's just tired of reshuffling his staff every year, which I get. That's tough.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to do, but
we survived it and won championships. It didn't matter, You have
exactly.
Kiffin. Kiffin goes away. We bring in Dayball, win a title. Dayball goes back to the pros. We bring in Loxley. He does amazing with Tua. Loxley goes to Maryland. We bring in Sark. Sark does amazing, So
Exactly.
But yeah,
Just
and then another. Speaking of Saban, one big questionable decision I thought he had last night is that second 2-point conversion.
We're up. Yeah, what are we up 4? So 5 and 6, 7 beat you anyway. So what are we doing?
It would put us up 5 when we're trying to get up 7.
Right.
So
yeah,
I don't
5 and
think there's a
6,
difference
7
between
still
5 and
beats you.
6, right?
No, not at all. Because 7 beat you regardless.
And I think your logic. I guess the logic there is that if you get 6, maybe they miss the extra point. But again, I'd rather just go up 6 because at the end that Will Reichard field goal would have been a winner.
Is a winner instead of going to overtime.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly, and that's just frustrating. But yeah,
because we've had a couple of those situations in recent where we, like, in the Tennessee game, why are we passing the ball 3 straight times and not running the clock out? So that even if he misses the kick, it's going to overtime. They don't have any time to do what they did.
Yeah, there's been some late game questionable clock management, and
and some of it maybe we're super spoiled. We haven't experienced it. It's been pretty efficient. Saban's on top of that stuff, but the fact that we've had it 2 times within 3 weeks. That's just mind-boggling, and coming off a bye week, especially. That's
the most frustrating part, coming off the bye. And you mentioned, we're obviously been spoiled as Alabama fans, and we're incredibly lucky. We've watched the greatest run in college football history, but at the same time, you can say, "Oh, you guys are spoiled" or whatever. Or we can be like, "But these are the expectations that our coaches have set." So we're just holding them to their expectations.
Right.
But
Saban has the highest expectations of everybody from the water boy on up. So if we've come accustomed to that, we expect, that, if something goes wrong and it's not, that it gets addressed or fixed, because that's just what we've been told is going to happen and what we've come accustomed to over the years. We've seen losses, we've seen things happen, but, we've always bounced back or gotten better from it. And you don't see that this year. It's crazy.
And, but, to kind of I guess, finish up on that. At the same time, and of course, we're going to see all these. The dynasty is dead. This is the beginning of
Oh
the
yeah,
end.
I mean that started against Tennessee, so of
It
course.
did, and then that's still ridiculous. I mean, look, yes, obviously, this is a very different team than we're accustomed to. The road
Yeah,
games, that trend is alarming. But until there's 4 and 5 lost seasons back to back, in
right,
consistent years, like if we see this team 2 or 3 seasons in a row, then we
right.
can start
Then at
having those
that point,
conversations. For all we
exactly.
know, next year is another unbeaten, just scorched earth team.
Yeah,
You never know. So that's, I mean, let those people write them. I love seeing those articles because that always seems to fire it up.
yeah,
I mean, our last horrible season was, quote unquote, was 2019. Didn't make the New Year's Six even. And then what
yeah.
happened in 2020?
Went
National title,
crazy.
against one of the
Yeah,
toughest schedules ever played.
well,
Uh, but yeah.
full SEC schedule. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah,
So yeah. But, well, I
that's
guess
the thing.
hats off to
Yeah.
LSU. I guess they're now in the driver's seat in the SEC West.
And you have to think that, yeah, they would really have to mess up to mess this up
Yeah, they have their two
at this
SEC
point.
games left are Arkansas and A&M. So they're
And after what Arkansas did yesterday,
oh yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll touch on that, I guess. But yeah, so LSU in the driver's seat. Ole Miss needs them to lose one of those games, and then they need to win out, including beating Alabama next week. And that's I guess I
who
don't know.
knows?
We'll see.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's in Oxford, so we'll see.
Who knows what's going to happen there? Because it's either, I see it going one of two ways. Either A, we go crazy and everybody and we're like, where's this been all year?
Mm-hmm.
Or B, it's more of the same of what we've seen in our other road games.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know.
But yeah, so it looks like Alabama may be at best playing for just us like a Sugar Bowl spot or whatever. New Year's Six
Right.
bowls are out there,
But
but
you got to win out.
we'll see.
Beat Ole
Maybe,
Miss and, the Iron Bowl.
yeah. But we'll move on. We mentioned Georgia earlier. That big number 1, number 3 matchup in Athens, and Georgia spanked Tennessee. It was 27-13 final score, and it wasn't nearly that close.
Not at all. Not at all.
That Tennessee offense just couldn't do nothing all day. Just
Nope.
speaking of, just looking out of rhythm,
Yeah, I mean,
Hendon Hooker looked bad. That whole offense looked bad. Georgia's offense
and,
looked great.
yeah. And it could have been even worse than that. I mean, Georgia had a fumble on the first drive there, and yeah, it was definitely what we would have hoped to have done ourselves in against Tennessee there. But in Athens there, and of course the going in the now I'm sure he wish he had never tweeted it. Eric Ainge says, "Oh, Athens is quiet. It's not even that big of a deal." Yeah.
Eric Ainge, dumbass. Oh man.
Yeah, that was just a complete domination, and exactly how you beat Tennessee. You pressure Hendon Hooker. All good quarterbacks, no matter how good of a season they've had, you get some pressure on the man. You put him on his ass a couple of times, mistakes are going to happen no matter who you are, and that's it. Georgia knew that. Georgia was tired of hearing about Tennessee's great offense, and they took it to them. And we used to be that guy. Now Georgia's coming to that. They're that guy. They're the bully on the block now. So they've kind of taken over that designation there in the SEC for now.
For sure, yeah. Georgia they came with the right defensive game plan, and although I do have questions about Josh Heupel's offensive game plan for the Vols there, because a lot of those, Georgia was blitzing a lot, and that's how they were getting to them. They were throwing them off.
Yeah.
And then they'd show like a, kind of a wide shot, and you'd see 3 or 4 Tennessee receivers 20 yards upfield on like deep routes, and nobody, just a wide open in the middle or in the flats, like no crossing routes, no slants, no hot routes.
Right, nothing to
you
make
got to
it look
question
easy.
that, especially when you have a experienced quarterback like Hooker. He can make those adjustments.
You'd have to think you'd adjust something. They really didn't adjust much of anything there.
No, yeah, it was So it was, a combination. And I saw some questions yesterday after the game being like, was Tennessee that bad or was Georgia that good? It was both. Georgia's outstanding.
Definitely somewhere.
And Tennessee just, they were not.
I think some of it too is just, with Tennessee, they first time they really got punched in the mouth for real. And I don't think they really knew how to respond to it, especially on the road like that.
Yeah, a little kind of taste of it. They had a lot of kind of false start, pre-snap stuff, a little taste of their own medicine. What happened to Alabama and Knoxville.
Yeah, they're a good amount of penalties.
So that Georgia's firmly in the driver's seat. I don't even know their remaining schedule left, but
I know they play Mississippi State on Saturday, which at one point seemed like it might be a interesting game in Starkville, but I don't think so anymore.
Yeah, I think the remaining SEC games are State and then at Kentucky, both which seem like they could be tricky, but maybe not so much now.
Maybe not.
Not after these showings, which is crazy that this Georgia team is the same one that nearly lost to Missouri and really struggled with Kent State.
Exactly, that's the craziest part. But maybe that was their wake up call that they needed, because since then they just been killing everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just need those little wake up calls to kind of slap your guys awake, and then they're right, we're the most talented team, we're the defending champs, like you said, we're the bullies.
And they've since that Mizzou game, of course it was Vandy. They slaughtered them, but they really took it to Florida, took it to Tennessee. They.
Yeah. So. Again,
pretty much
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna just say pretty much a lock for the playoff at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah, barring just a monumental collapse. And barring upsets, we're going to get, and kind of the same as LSU. Georgia would need to lose both of their games, and Tennessee would need to win out to make it to Atlanta. So it looks like we're getting Georgia, LSU in Atlanta. And we'll see how that goes, but I wouldn't feel good about LSU's chances, really.
No, I think if we get that matchup, it's going to be kind of a reverse of what we had in 2019 when LSU smoked them in Atlanta. I think we kind of get that reverse game, but we'll see.
But elsewhere we mentioned Georgia's opponent next week, Mississippi State. They won an absolutely crazy game in Starkville. Blew a 21-point lead.
Wow.
And then came back late, almost won on the craziest thing I would ever seen. They tied the game up with a field goal. Went to squib kick it. It hit the guy in the up man for Auburn. Mississippi State recovers it, but can't get in a good field goal position.
Right.
Then they take it in overtime anyway. Auburn played hard. Carnell Cadillac Williams, an interim coach, he got them fired up.
They showed up for him because Brian Harsis is that coach. Whatever that first half score, it gets worse from there.
Yeah. So,
at least playing Cadillac.
We should probably mention that. Yeah, Brian Harsin finally fired this week.
Guess we're waiting for the AD more than anything. It seems like because they officially announced. And it was not a well-kept secret that he was coming, but once it was official, it was pretty much boop, boop, out the door. We've kind of been waiting on that for the whole season, but figured it happened eventually. But.
Yeah, we've talked about it many times, just like where in the schedule would have happened, and here it is.
There it is.
Nothing particular. Of course, a lot of the names being thrown out. Lane Kiffin, Hugh Freeze, Matt Rule, Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lane Kiffin seems to be the favorite, but I don't know if he'd really want to leave his situation. Surely Auburn is going to pay him more money and they have better resources for their program.
But he knows what Auburn does. He knows about the Yellowwood guys situation. He knows how those boosters have their hands in everything. And Lane is a free guy. He likes to do what he wants to do. He wants to tweet his little funny things. He wants to have a good time, and I just don't see him having fun at Auburn. He has a good time at Ole Miss, so I don't see this being that time for him. I could be wrong, but I just don't see him being the fit for that program.
Yeah, it seems like like you said, he's a little too laid back. Look, he wouldn't want to step into that shit show that is the Auburn booster
Right.
board of trustees situation. Hugh Freeze, another kind of odds-on favorite. There's always the question of if Greg Sankey could use his influence to you know deny that. Liberty gave him a big extension this week.
Big
That's not a
extension.
problem for
Yeah,
Auburn.
that's not a problem. But
Um, that
yeah,
would
but
probably be the best hire for Auburn. Freeze had great
yeah,
success at Ole Miss, and he knows the South and can recruit. So
right.
Matt Rule, I don't
Yeah.
think he really wants to come to the South. I think he's more of a Midwest, Southwest guy, maybe an
Yeah.
East Coaster.
I mean, and does he want to get back into it right away? I mean, I at
Yeah,
least wait to get
exactly.
a few checks from the Panthers before I get back into coaching. So,
Yeah, exactly. And he seems more like a guy suited to help build a program or take like a mid-level program.
yeah, kind of like we did with Baylor. They were
Hmm.
in the dumps, and yeah, kind of a program that can be good, but there's not these super expectations, and the fan base is good at 9-3. And that's kind of what Baylor is at this point.
Exactly. Yeah, an underachieving program that maybe can fly
Show
under
up
the
every now and
radar
again.
with
And,
lighter expectations than what's at Auburn. Because
exactly.
you go to Auburn, you're expected to compete for a national title.
Yeah, exactly.
Dion would be an interesting hire from like a spectacle standpoint, but I'm not sure. And he would certainly probably make an impact recruiting in the first year or two, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
He probably needs some more experience before he jumps to
right.
that level of a coaching gig.
And then at the same time, I mean, I think it's that same situation. He's kind of the face of, Jackson State at the moment there.
Hmm.
He seems to really be enjoying that environment and what he's brought to that program. And do you really, right now, like, he's not a guy, he's not a lifetime coach. He has plenty of his own money. So, I mean, it's not going to be anything like that. So I don't see him jumping into something like that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so we'll see. And of course, it could be none of the above. Maybe all those coaches
Yeah,
realize that no one wants to step into that
this is not what
situation
we want
until
to
it's
do.
settled.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how
And I
that
think
plays
that's
out. I
another thing.
don't
I think they're all kind of wait, and even if they're all thinking about it, I think at the same time they're all seeing what is the other guy doing? What is the other guy doing?
exactly. Yeah, it might be a whole lot of wait and see till after the season's over.
Exactly.
We mentioned Hugh Freeze, his Liberty. What are they? The Flames. Yeah,
Yeah.
a big win over Arkansas. Arkansas had a
Yeah.
lot of hype before the season. Not the season they hoped they'd have, but
Oh,
is what it is.
yeah. It's tough. They had a definitely a tough out of conference thing as far as against non-power fives. I mean BYU, Cincinnati, and the third one caught up to them in Liberty. So
Mhm. Let's see elsewhere. Florida went to Kyle Field and pulled
yeah,
away in the second half. A close first half, back and forth, a fun
it
game to
was
watch early.
entertaining. It was an entertaining one, and then they really took it to them in that second half.
Yeah, so
Wow.
interesting matchup next week for the Aggies. They have to go to the Plains in Auburn, and that reinvigorated team, playing hard for
Yeah.
Cadillac. Ooh, that
5 straight losses for A&M. I think it said like the first time since like
1980, I believe.
1900, 1980. Yeah.
Worst, yeah, I think worst conference start for them, or first time losses, yeah, since 1980. I saw that in 1980 somewhere. I forget for
Oh,
either like worst conference start or like you mentioned
yeah.
the loss
And,
losing streak.
and you have to think, I mean, they really shouldn't even win that Arkansas game, but
Yeah, and
it's
hell,
gonna,
there are plenty of chances to lose that Miami game too.
yeah.
Which
Yikes. So it's been
I'll get to the Canes
quite
when
the,
we hit the ACC too. But
yeah, that'll be an
elsewhere,
interesting one, though. Yeah, on the Plains, I mean, yeah, reinvigorated team, and you know, everybody's like, "Oh, they can't fire Jimbo. So much money, and you lose to Auburn." And I don't know, people, the oil money, they're gonna be looking. Wait a minute now, let's start ponying up. They're gonna start thinking about things a little harder. But
yeah, that'll be an interesting one next week. You got, I think so. I guess the big one next week, Alabama and Ole Miss. Georgia goes to Starkville, A&M, and Auburn for pure entertainment spectacle. Tennessee will
Right.
bounce back. They get Missouri at Neyland. And LSU goes to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Of course, that game is always
It's always
LSU.
It's been over the years. It has been an interesting one.
So you never know.
But
Elsewhere
I
this
just don't.
week, South Carolina beat Vandy. Kentucky won. Go over Missouri. They bounced back. So,
Right.
all right, let's move on. ACC, the big story there. Clemson went
Wow.
to South Bend and got
And got
whooped
whooped.
by
Whoa.
Notre Dame. Made me look like a fool. I had a bad day in the bets column that me and Blaine do. 0 for 3 yesterday. I had Tennessee plus 8.5. That wasn't
Yeah.
a horrible pick.
No, I mean going into the game, a lot
Yeah.
of people had that.
And one more touchdown they would have covered. The other one I had Clemson because I saw the line at minus 3.5, and I was like, that's too good. For Notre Dame offense, it's been struggling, and I should have.
They had a.
I should have taken that warning. I should have been a warning that wasn't like a 7 or 8 point line. I should have been like, what, something's wrong. But how big was it before Clemson even scored? Like 28-0.
28-0. I mean,
final score, what, 35-14? Just
the thing with that game is, they tried to stick with DJ, but you saw what he did in the last big game.
Mm-hmm.
He had to get pulled. You run with the freshman. He wins you the game. I'm sorry, but I'm making that switch. You have the week off to get him ready. I'm making that switch. Like DJ's had a couple years. It's not like he's a young guy himself. I mean, he's been in the program for a while. Like, I'm making that switch. I mean, he's done it in the past. That's how we got Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly. That's just knocks them out of the playoff convetion. I would think
the whole
they just don't have any good wins. They don't really have any good wins.
You almost feel bad for if North Carolina wins out their season, they'll have only the one loss on the season. If they went and beat an undefeated Clemson team in the ACC championship game, then that may have left a little speculation. Oh, maybe North Carolina has that opportunity, but now even if they beat Clemson, it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah. I guess the bright side for Clemson is that's not a conference game, so they're still unbeaten in conference play. Still probably going to win the Atlantic Division there. I don't see.
That's a bad division.
It really is.
Especially, but I mean, they've beaten all the teams that they've supposed. Yeah, I mean, they've beaten Wake Forest, NC State.
NC State, Wake. Yeah, so they've got that locked up pretty much. Yeah. Like you mentioned, North Carolina on the other side, they're also unbeaten in conference play. They got a pretty good. That's probably more than likely our ACC title game matchup.
I think so.
Yeah, North Carolina State, we mentioned them. They got a good home win over Wake Forest, surprisingly. Still without Leary, but good win for them. Syracuse, they're kind of free fall after their great start continues. They've now lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, they're without their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't play at all yesterday, and they look pretty bad. They're not the same team at all. But yeah.
And I mentioned my horrible day in the bets column. Mentioned Tennessee, Clemson. My other pick, at least in my defense, I admitted it was dumb as I was making it. But I picked Miami in the points because I thought, you know what, this is a rivalry built on pure chaos. And this is exactly the scenario where this one might be some wacky game, another wide right or something. Yeah. Florida State said, nah, son.
Not today.
Whooped them.
Not today.
In Miami or Miami Gardens or wherever that stadium actually is.
Anyway, by the end, you thought you were in Tallahassee. It wasn't a Miami side.
Oh, yeah.
As a Miami fan in sight.
Not a lot of orange and green there. All garnet and gold. So, good, decent season for Florida State. What they need to do, 6-3 on the year now. So they're
going to a bowl.
Solid.
Beat their first hated rival, and if they beat Florida in a couple weeks there, that's a solid season, competitive in all your games, and you beat your 2 rivals. I mean, that'll keep Norvell around for a little bit anyway.
Yeah, at least a little bit. We'll see. Next week in the ACC, let's see. North Carolina travels to
Nothing
Wake
spectacular.
Forest.
Yeah.
And then Red Hot Louisville, all of a sudden, they go to Clemson. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Florida State goes up to Syracuse. So
Yeah,
that's
if Syracuse had been a healthy team, if this was Syracuse from a month ago, that might be an interesting game. But I think at this point, I think Florida State just slaughters them. But
yeah. I guess we'll touch on the Big Ten real quick. Nothing interesting. Ohio State struggled at
yeah,
Northwestern, kind of
they struggled mightily.
some
I
shitty
mean, they won
weather conditions.
21-7. But you guys are from the Midwest. You should know how to play in that type of weather. Like
That's
that's not
true.
a good.
Yeah. Ugly game, but they won. Michigan whooped up on another inferior opponent. Big win over Rutgers. Michigan State, I guess that was the big news of the day. They upset Illinois.
Winning the Champaign
In Champaign, yeah. Illinois still leading the Western Division.
That's a terrible division.
It really is. Yeah.
And you never know what you're gonna get. Like, I mean, Iowa beats the shit out of Purdue yesterday. Just demolishes Purdue, 27-3. When is 27 points for Iowa? That's ridiculous.
Crazy. Yeah. If ever there were a case to just get rid of divisions and go to the pod scheduling, whatever, it's the Big Ten West.
It's a horrible division.
Horrible. It's never been good. They may have had one good team a year, but
right, they might have one good team, but everybody else is around that 8. They're all like 8-4 or 7-5 at the end of this thing, all fighting for that to go get slaughtered by Ohio State.
Yeah, it's just
bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough of that. I guess see anything big next week for them. Let's see.
It was an ugly schedule.
Yeah, nothing.
I guess the biggest thing I saw was just more great Big Ten West division. I guess it's important for the division there. When I was looking at the schedule,
Purdue.
What did
Illinois,
they have? Yeah, Purdue, Illinois,
Wisconsin, Iowa.
Yeah. But if you want some naps, that's a good way to go. Wisconsin, Iowa.
There you go. Yeah, that's your good nap window next week. If you're not interested in the Alabama Ole Miss game, yeah. All right, yeah, that's enough of that. Big 12, TCU keeps winning. Just looking good, man.
Yeah.
Beat up on Texas Tech. They are just firmly in the driver's seat, 2-game lead over everybody, and they own the tiebreakers to just about every game.
The big thing for them is just winning out. They got to win out to get that playoff spot.
Exactly. And they get a tough one next week. They got to go to Austin. A resurgent Texas team who went into Manhattan and beat up on Kansas State. Held on late in the end.
They held on.
But looked really good. Byron Robinson probably would be your Heisman frontrunner if they actually gave the award to the best player, not just the best player on the best team.
Yeah, because he's had one heck of a season.
Oh, yeah.
What he's done there and what he did last night, 200-plus yards. He's just an amazing running back, and he's been an amazing running back. It's just a bad team.
And that was one everybody knew when they hired Sarkisian, that he's like, he's going to unlock Robinson, and he sure has.
Oh, yeah.
And Robinson, he's going to be one of those guys that gets drafted about way too early next spring, and he's going to get a great payday off of it. So good for him.
Yeah, good for him for sure.
Elsewhere, Oklahoma State might just probably want to avoid the state of Kansas for a while.
Yeah.
After last week's whooping at the hands of Kansas State, they lose to Kansas. No, they were without Spencer Sanders, but whew. So Kansas gets off the shot.
The way they lost. Hey, and good for Kansas, bowl eligible. Got their 6th win yesterday.
Yeah, good for the Jayhawks. That's about it of note. Baylor beat Oklahoma. Nothing big going on. Iowa State got their first win. Yeah.
Yeah, that Baylor game was somewhat entertaining there.
Inconsequential, to the but good
in the realm of
fun game to watch.
But that was a fun game. OU showed life. I mean, despite the three turnovers and 3 picks, and that's the one thing you thought Venables was going to be a better defensive guy, and Baylor ran all over him. My goodness.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, but that might have locked up TCU's place in the title game. I'm not
I
sure how
think it
they.
has.
Yeah, but like we said, they got to go to Austin next week, and they need to win it to keep their college playoff
They got to
hopes
win
alive.
there. Yeah, they still have them and Baylor on the road, and
hmm yeah, those standings, TCU's in first place, 6-0, and then you got Texas, Baylor, and Kansas State all 4-2 in conference.
right,
Baylor will host Kansas State next week, so that'll settle that.
right.
But yeah, we'll move out west. Pac-12 again, not too much going on. You
Right.
have Washington beating Oregon
Washington,
State on
Oregon.
that. That was that
Oh
Friday
yeah,
night game.
yeah. That was a fun game. They
Yeah.
came down to the last drive there.
hmm Fun game. Then elsewhere, Oregon, USC, UCLA, Utah handled their business. The UCLA or USC game got a little closer than they probably wanted, but
Yeah,
they
it
still
was.
won. Next
I think
week,
what the Cal scored 21 points in the fourth there.
yeah, Cal, which never good. You don't want Cal to be scoring that many points on you. But so it looks like probably a one and done appearance in the top 25 for Oregon State. They'll
Yep.
get Cal at home next week.
Yep.
Oregon gets the Washington game, so maybe looks a little trickier, but it's in Eugene, so
Don't think that'll be a problem.
yeah, shouldn't be a problem for them. Utah hosts Stanford, so that should be a good win for them, and then UCLA hosts Arizona. So all the contenders for the Pac-12 titles have should win home games next week.
Looks good on paper anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, that should be it for our wrap up. Don't think there was anything of note really in the mid majors. Trying to think about it. I think Coastal had a big win. But other than that, yeah, some good games elsewhere. But Tulane, that's what we're going to give Tulane their props. 8-1, 7-1 start.
8-1. They're
Yeah.
having. I mean, what did they? They might get that New Year's Six. Then the best.
That's true.
Get
Yeah,
the
if they
New
can win out
Year's
and win the
Six. So
American,
that's
they'll sneak in that. Man, maybe a little Tulane, Alabama Sugar Bowl for old time original SEC OGs.
Right. Exactly.
The Green Wave versus the Crimson Tide.
Good times.
But yeah, all right. Let's move on to our NCAA power rankings. I'll start number 10. That's where I got Ole Miss at. They had a bye week this week, so didn't really do anything to move up or down.
Mm-hmm.
They'll host Alabama next week. We'll see how it goes. How about you?
For my number 10, I have UCLA at that 10 spot. Got the win over Arizona State. Got a little closer, maybe expected at the end there, but put up 50 there. But that's my 10 right now.
All right, you got it 9.
9, I have Ole Miss at 9. Bye week there, and of course we all know the big matchup in Oxford coming 2:30 Saturday against Bama.
Yeah. All right, so we flip flop. I got UCLA at 9. Got their crosstown rivals, USC at 8. Again, those are kind of just teams. We're waiting for that big matchup.
Yeah.
I guess it's a couple weeks now.
Mid
Who's your number
November.
8?
I got LSU at 8 there, entering into the top 10 there. Of course, we all know, the big win there last night in Baton Rouge there. Favorites to now win the West, and a lot of first season there for Brian Kelly there. Maybe not a lot of expectations, and he's over exceeded everything so far. So.
Yep, and that's who I had in my number 7 spot. How about you, number 7?
I have the Trojans at USC there.
Okay.
Beat Cal. Gave up 21 in the fourth, but the Trojans still sitting there only with that one loss, very much alive for the Pac-12.
All right. Let's see. Move to number 6. Who you got?
6, I have Tennessee there. We all know, won in the rankings last week and went down the road and got destroyed. But still overall solid team, a lot to play for the Vols. So, but I think overall, they'll rebound okay.
All right, I had the Ducks of Oregon at number 6. Like we've mentioned past weeks, they're just rolling along,
Mm-hmm.
handling their business. I had the Vols at
Yeah,
number 5, just because they still have probably a better win, that Alabama
right,
win, than the Kentucky win.
right.
Who's your number 5?
I have Oregon there at the 5 spot. I mean, of course, it was Colorado, but I mean, big win there. Boom
Mm-hmm.
out there, and Bo Nix just having a remarkable season there.
He absolutely is. Who about your number 4?
Where I have TCU at 4 there. Undefeated on the season. Hopes of the Big 12 right now to run in the table and get into the playoff. Kind of got a little disrespected, I thought, in the first overall playoff rankings there. But, hopefully they can run the table, control their own destiny, and get into the playoff.
All right, number 4, I got the Wolverines of Michigan. Like we said, another big win, but they just haven't played anybody worth a shit
Right.
this year. Just yeah, that's it. Uh, we're waiting to their game against Ohio State, who is my number
Pretty
3.
much.
Drop them down with that struggle, and again, kind of the same thing. They just don't really have any impressive wins this year.
Right.
Notre Dame one, I guess, looks a little better, but
Right.
it's not that impressive. Who's your number
Exactly.
3?
Number 3, I have Ohio State. I understand they won. Ended up at 21-7. But they're playing a 1-7 Northwestern team. Elements are not, like, I don't know, wasn't impressed at all, so I dropped them down a spot.
All right, who got your number 2?
2, I moved up Michigan there to the 2 spot for this week. I struggled in the first half. It was actually 17-14. They were down at the half, and opened it up on Rutgers in the second half there. And that's their running back at Michigan, man. He might if he does what he's done all season and does it against Ohio State, I think that man might get invited to New York. Quorum's having a heck of a year.
Mm-hmm. He absolutely is. Number 2 is where I have the Horned Frogs. Based on their resume, they've had the rank wins, the tough road wins.
Exactly.
They've kind of gone through the Big 12 grinder. It's a better conference than people really giving it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I imagine we share number 1, the Georgia Bulldogs. After just like we said, they spanked Tennessee. They're looking like the favorites to go back to back.
Yep.
The King stay the king. And that should be it, unless you got any thoughts.
Overall, as an Alabama fan, disappointing week. But yeah, I mean, other than that, for college football, your average fan, they're probably enjoying it just because, some of the favorites, a lot of people are getting tired of the Clemsons, the Alabamas of the world, not being where they're accustomed to. Some people enjoy that. So for your average fan, I think they're enjoying it.
Absolutely, yeah. From an objective standpoint, from a casual standpoint, it's a great year. Not quite 2007 levels of chaos, but
Not yet, anyway. We just had that chance. Who knows?
There's still a chance. We'll see, but I don't know if anything will ever match that season.
No, that was wild. Nobody wanted to play in the championship.
But so we go, and even the funny part about that season, you go back to think about it, we still ended up with what, LSU and
Ohio State, yeah.
Yeah, in the title game. So even when the craziest season of all time, it still was,
exactly.
to the big boys. So close to that West Virginia, South Florida title game. Or West Virginia, I guess it would have been Missouri or Kansas, maybe.
Yeah, that would have been epic.
Yeah. All right, let's move to the pros. A big week. I was telling Greg before we started recording, it's been a long week, man. I make notes for what we should talk about throughout the week, and I'm reading like, this was the trade deadline this week, man. Really, that happened this week?
Right.
But it did. Big trade deadline. A lot of movement, crazier than usual for the NFL, which is good.
Yeah,
we see, if you're a fan of the NBA, half the fun is the off-season movement and free agency and trades. And if you're a fan of, soccer, that's half the fun is what they call the silly season, the summer transfer window, and all the rumors and players, switching teams and going this way and that way. So good for the NFL. I think it's really part of making it more fun. It's not just the on-field product, you know.
Exactly. It's the whole everything. Yeah.
So a couple of the big moves, you got Roquan Smith moving to the Ravens. That should help
That
shore up
was
their
huge.
defense. We'll see
That was
tomorrow
huge,
night
man.
when they play New Orleans. Chase Claypool went to the Bears.
They gave up a lot. I thought that was kind of
a surprising one, but showing
yeah.
faith in Justin Fields and
Yeah. We'll see how that plays
Pittsburgh.
out.
They just turn out those receivers. They're so good at scouting and
Right.
finding the right guys. So they still got Pickens and Deontay Johnson. They're fine. They don't really need them this year anyway. Really big one, Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins, giving them a real pass rush threat.
Yeah.
TJ Hawkinson going from the Lions to the Vikings to replace the injured Irv Smith.
Even though they don't use their tight ends, it's weird why the Vikings don't. But yeah, big move for them just to add on another.
Exactly. Yeah, they're kind of their offense just doesn't really dictate throwing to the tight ends, but yeah, that's another weapon for them. See a couple of smaller ones. Naeem Hines to the Bills. Gives them another weapon. Didn't help them today, though.
No,
shocking loss to the Jets.
Especially with the bigger favorite as they were going into that game. My goodness.
Only mustered 17 points. Quinn goes to the Eagles, just giving them another.
My goodness.
Added on to their powerhouse. And they won Thursday night to keep their unbeaten season going.
Yeah.
And then an interesting one that's not going to impact this season, maybe next season or any time, but Calvin Ridley going from the Falcons to the Jaguars.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley still serving that indefinite suspension for betting on a couple games, like $1,500 on the game, whatever.
When he was out with the injuries.
Yeah, when he was already out last year. So there's if you want to read up on it, it's interesting. There's so many clauses and
what you can and can't do
to the contract, like if he actually plays and it's going to be this round of a pick, and if he doesn't play until then it's this round, a lot of just kind of I can't find the word right now, but just a lot of protection, I guess, for the Jaguars in case the NFL decides they don't want him to play anymore.
Right, but
meanwhile Deshaun Watson's coming back, so whatever, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. But
if Calvin was able to come back, I mean, that could be an interesting tandem there. We'll see.
Indeed, it could. Yeah, that's with Kirk and Calvin Ridley on the outside, Travis Etienne's coming in his own. That's a really dangerous offense if they go elsewhere. And off the field news, Daniel Snyder looks to appear to be finally selling the Washington football franchise Commanders. We'll see, I guess. Good. Get his ass out of here. Whatever.
Right. And
a couple of Washington fans I know are ecstatic over this news.
I bet. But the thing that is that it's not so much all the stuff you would think that's would get them or why they would want to get it. It's going to be that money situation with the federal government or whatever they caught them with that. I think that's going to be why the NFL gets them out of there more than all the reasons it should have been.
It's not the horrible conduct and attitude towards women. No. It's when you mess with the money. That's when the NFL gets pissed at you.
Yeah, exactly.
But all right, let's move to our power rankings for the NFL real quick. As always, the disclaimer that we do these fairly early in the week before the Thursday games. Who you got number 8? Kick it off.
Number 8, I have the Seahawks holding their own there in the West there. Got the good win against the Giants last week there. This is a team that was supposed to be left for dead after Russ left, and Geno Smith has taken over and excelled there. So they're ahead of the NFC West right now.
Number 8, I thought about it. I ended up going 49ers there. Just kind of I feel like maybe just because of their experience and being there gives them a little bit of an edge. That trade for McCaffrey is huge for them. Yeah. Just he had a great game last week. Only the 5th player ever, whatever, to throw, catch, and run for a touchdown in the same game.
Yeah, joking around at work and saying maybe they have a quarterback controversy.
I mean, hell, why not just line him up, run kind of a
Running back.
wildcat thing with him, all
Exactly.
Debo and all those guys.
Exactly.
And plus they do have, like, I believe a couple game. They own the tiebreakers because they beat the Seahawks earlier. They're
Right.
unbeaten in the division so far this
Yeah.
year. So number 7, I got my Ravens starting to get back on track. They won 2 in a row now. Had that
Mm-hmm.
ugly Thursday night win last weekend. They play
Right.
Monday night in the Superdome against the Saints this week, which is, always, even when the Saints are down, it's always a tough place to play.
Exactly. It's a tough spot.
Who you got number 7?
7, I have the Titans.
Okay.
5 straight wins. Hasn't been pretty, but they start off 0-2, won 5 straight. Tough game going in the Arrowhead tonight, but they're playing Titan football. Real physical, not pretty, but that's been their brand for a while.
All right. How about your number 6?
6, I have your Ravens as 6 there. Beat the Bucks. Then had the bye week and Saints Monday Night Football. They're If you guys can hold on to leads, man, you guys are good to go.
I was about to say, yeah, we talked about that, Roquan Smith going to NFL's leading tackler right now. That's a big hole in the middle of that defense.
That
It
is
should
huge.
be huge.
Yeah.
Another kind of leadership figure for a second and a fifth rounder, which gets even better if they manage to sign him to a long-term contract after the season.
Yeah.
And one more note about them too. One thing I was, as a fan, hoping to see that was some addition at receiver. Jerry Judy's name popped up a little bit, which as a Bama fan would have also been just amazing, but apparently Denver's asking price was just too high.
Too much, yeah.
The Ravens ain't going to do that.
No.
Even though EDC has kind of broken the trend there, Eric DeCosta.
Right.
Ozzie Newsome was never a big trade guy, but Eric DeCosta has now gotten Roquan Smith at the deadline, got Marcus Peters at the deadline, and then got Yannick, the pass rusher, a couple years ago. Didn't really work out for him there, but so he's not afraid to go out and get him. So we'll see if maybe they there's still Odell Beckham out there if he's going to get healthy.
Yeah, but he's been linked to half the league at this point.
He has, yeah, but with news coming out yesterday or the day before that Rashad Bateman's done for the season now.
I saw that. That's tough.
They need something on that receiving core. But number 6, I had the Dolphins. They're just a different team when Tua's on the field with them. They just play so much better. I didn't see how their game finished today, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you know if they?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they ended up winning. They were in a tough one with the Bears.
It was back and forth. Like they would go up 10, and then the Bears would answer. It was a high scoring game. I don't know who actually. I'm assuming the Dolphins won the game, but
I was about to say, yeah, they were keeping pace and like keeping them an arm's length, but the Bears, yeah, they ended up winning 35-32. So,
I mean, it looked kind of dead there after Tua got hurt, but they've got things going again there, and those explosive wide receivers with Tua. I mean, if he's able to go all season, I mean, they're going to be a threat. What they're supposed to have been this whole time. So.
All right. Let's see. Who is your number 6? Or did you already give me that?
Yeah, 6 was the Ravens for me.
That's right. All right. Who's your number 5?
5, I have the Cowboys. Last week, big time offensive performance there against Chicago. Big win there on the bye week now. And then, of course, they're making big commercials about it, even though it doesn't have the same as what it used to. But going to Lambeau next week there, so that'll be hopefully can finally beat Aaron Rodgers.
I have the same thing. Cowboys at number 5. They're rolling along quietly. Really one of the better teams in the league this year. Number 4, I have the Vikings.
Yeah.
Again, they're just only the one loss. They won today, barely squeaked one out against Washington, but with Detroit beating the Packers, the Vikings are just running away with that division.
Yeah, mathematically, I think in a week or two it might be done.
Yeah, they're certainly just making a run for it there. Who's your number 4?
Yeah, I have the same Minnesota there, and probably might be moving up depending on how things continue for the rest. But yeah, I mean, only the one loss on the year to Philly, and quietly, I mean, really, no one's really like talking about them. I mean, they don't get the hype that, of course, Philly, the Chiefs, or the Bills get, but they're quietly just rolling along there, winning games, and they're quietly having a heck of a year.
6 wins in a row for them. We mentioned their ridiculous division lead. They are 7-1, and then behind them, Green Bay and Chicago both 3-6, Detroit 2-6. So,
And
yeah,
they already have
like
wins
said,
over the Packers and the Lions.
Yeah, they are 3-0 in the division. I believe they've beaten all 3 of them. So, yeah, they honestly just in a couple of weeks, like you said, could lock up the division already. Number 3, I have the Chiefs. Kansas City.
Yeah.
Nothing really new to say about them. How about you?
Yep, same thing. Chiefs, 2 weeks ago destroyed San Francisco in that second half there, and coming off the bye week, Sunday night football there tonight. Titans coming to town. 12.5 point. I think they're a 12.5 point favorite, but last time they came off a bye, I think it was last year on the same type of thing. They Sunday night they really put it to them. So but we'll
how
see.
about your number 2?
2, I have Buffalo there. Got maybe not as big as a win as they thought last week against the Packers, but got the win there at home last week, and then might slip down this week. Surprisingly lost at the Jets. 2017, only 17 points, and the Jets defense is nasty. I mean, they really forced some interceptions there and really, shut down that prolific offense. So shout out to the Jets. But yeah, Buffalo was at the 2 spot for me.
Yeah, same with me. Like you said, it's just a shocking loss in New Jersey to the Jets.
Yeah, I mean,
But so of course we both got the Eagles at number 1. We mentioned their Thursday night victory over Houston. Wasn't as big a blowout as
no,
maybe everyone
wasn't.
would have
Houston
thought.
gave them a game. They came out in that first drive, got the quick touchdown, but after that, you knew the Eagles were there for business. I mean, they went on that was a 17 play, 82-yard drive right after that first touchdown. I was like, man, it was impressive.
Yeah, so yeah, they're just rolling along. Not sure. Let's see, kind of next week. Look ahead to next week's games. The Eagles play. Where are they at? I know they're not on a bye. They've already had their bye week. Where'd they go? Monday night they host Washington. That should be another win.
Yeah, especially at Philly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those weird weeks this week too. There's 6 teams on bye for some reason instead of them spreading it out 4 teams. So, but
yeah, tough for fantasy.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, if you depending on who you got, tough fantasy week. All right. Any other NFL thoughts you want to add?
Well, this weekend kind of been kind of crazy so far. I guess we'll talk about more next week. Some of the early games, some shockers in there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just a hint. Chargers struggled in Atlanta. Dolphins struggled to beat Chicago. The Bengals just put it on Carolina.
Yeah.
We mentioned the Lions win. Patriots has
That's
an easy
five straight losses for Aaron Rodgers, first time in his career.
Oh yeah, and it's he got paid, but then no one else could get paid, so we ain't got nobody else to play with.
No way to play with.
It really is. I mean, it was only a 15-9 game, so you can't talk too bad about
but
the
he
defense.
had but he had 3 interceptions, but then at the goal line,
awful,
horrible.
And the story we heard, that they were going to be fine because the defense and the running game was going to carry them, but they obviously are not fine.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
May only continue to get worse.
Yeah, and and like another, just one more team that just did not live up to expectations. The Raiders just continue to have an awful year.
Lost to the Jags today.
There was a lot of talk before the season that whole division would get into
Yeah,
the
that was a hype.
playoffs.
Oh, yeah, the whole division's gonna be so. It's gonna be such epic football, and might only get the Chiefs depending on what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Chargers aren't exactly tearing it up
And they have
anyway.
so many,
But
and they don't have anybody to throw the ball to. Everybody's hurt.
no, yeah, it's the Austin Eckler
Yeah,
show.
exactly.
Um, all right, that's it for the NBA, or excuse me, the NFL. We can touch on the NBA real quick. The big news this week, early season: Steve Nash fired by the Nets. Why they didn't do it before the season, who
Yeah, that's
knows?
the biggest thing. Like, why,
Um,
why even bring that into the season? You knew everybody was unhappy.
mhm.
Didn't work at all last year. Everybody you brought back, and you know that they had the issues last season with KD and Kyrie and Steve weren't ever on the same page. It seemed like anyway. Then yeah, I don't know what they were thinking there.
Yeah, and yeah, that just again that whole team's kind of a mess right there. They've started 4-6. The whole Kyrie is now suspended after tweeting the link to the anti-Semitic video, and then he has finally issued an apology. But if you kind of read it, it's
It's kind of like
not. He kind of dances around. It's well written, but he kind of dances around actually apologizing
yeah,
and denouncing anti-Semitism. So, and then maybe even not bigger than that news, but maybe in the coaching topic, the bigger news
cold.
is
Yeah,
their favorite to hire is Ime Udoka, the suspended
yeah.
Celtics coach. So
I mean,
it's like that organization, the Nets just want to invite controversy and
right.
bad PR on themselves.
Exactly. I mean, he's not fired. He's
No, and he's
still
not suspended by the
yeah
league.
he's still a active employee for the as far as that aspect from the Celtics. So I mean, they would have to, I'm assuming, have to trade or do something in order to make that even happen.
Yeah, they'll give up some draft
All
picks,
right,
and
something would have to
who
happen.
knows?
And yeah, that was
Maybe
like
they'll.
immediately he was just the guy, and it's like, but he's not just available.
Yeah, it's weird. Who knows? Maybe they'll ship Kyrie to Boston for him.
But we know how that worked last time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yikes. But yeah, I don't know. But,
It's just a mess. Like I said, it's just a mess of an organization right
yeah,
now. So much talent, so much squandered talent.
yeah,
Coach getting taken out
yeah,
on the punt
yes.
return. Other than that, early season NBA stuff. Milwaukee's still
Milwaukee
unbeaten,
undefeated.
9-0.
9-0. Yeah,
Utah still winning games despite
not
Danny
wanting to.
Ainge's best effort to
Right?
want the team to
They're just
tank.
winning games.
Yeah.
Please.
Philly in some trouble. James Harden now
Yeah.
injured for a while.
It's out like a month or two.
Tough start for the Sixers.
Yeah.
But other than that, still early yet in the NBA. You don't really
Yeah, I mean,
things don't really fall into place till almost after the All-Star break. Really,
pretty
in that
much.
league.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's definitely a league that could use for all the talk about Adam Silver wanting like an in-season tournament and all that. It's really a league that could cut about 20 games out of their regular season.
really could, because I mean, a lot of it. Because realistically, what are we looking at? Like 1 through 4 or 5. I mean, we pretty much know. I mean, it's just a matter
Yeah,
of
exactly.
five, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, and the play-in thing is kind of what we're looking at in the second half. So I'm sure we could get that in 60 games if and still have the same.
Exactly. I've always thought they could do kind of like a soccer thing where you just play every team in the league home and away one time. And there's 30 teams in the league, so you'd play 29 teams twice. That's 58 games. That seems like a good regular season.
Yeah. I mean, I think
especially, they keep, with the play-ins and all that expanding the tournament, which I don't know about you. I'm just not a fan of the play-in.
Honestly, I think it was more so that first time because they wanted to, with the pandemic and everything, they wanted to somehow get Zion involved in the playoff. I swear they've kind of gone with it since, but I think that was the biggest thing. They just wanted to, he was almost there, but not quite. So they had to do something in order to get him some time there. And I think that's why they had it originally. But
yeah. And, like I said, it didn't work out. Of course, as a Pels fan, it was great last season to see them make that run from the play-in.
I mean, it's entertaining. It's fun, but I mean,
But it's not fair, if you play all these games and you're like the 7 seed and you finish 15 games ahead of the guy in 10, but then you
One
lose
bad game.
one game. Yeah, so I don't know really how I would feel about the in-season tournament. You have it in like soccer, something like if you're in England, you have the FA Cup, but that's been around for 90, 100
But
years, and it's
it's
open
well
to
established.
literally over 900 teams. If you have an official professional team in England, you can play in this tournament. And we don't. Now, that'd be cool if you're going to open it up to a bunch of semi-pro guys,
Yeah, I mean, that could be fun, but I mean, at that
Again,
point, is that
it's a waste. Yeah.
and then like if you're a top, if you have this mid-season tournament that doesn't necessarily have an effect on the season per se. I mean, are you sending your best players to that tournament? Obviously not.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're calling up your G
Right,
League
exactly.
guys.
So I don't know what it really adds to the season.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's it. Let's see. Elsewhere, big news, Greg. Your prediction came right. Astros in 6.
Finally, something came through.
Didn't jinx them. Philly put up a good fight, but Stros in 6. Dusty Baker gets his first as a manager. Congrats to him. He's a likable guy. Happy to see him. It's still a lot of people bitter over the whole cheating thing with the Astros, but it's 5 years ago. Everybody cheats in baseball. They were just dumb enough to get caught and do it in a stupid way.
Exactly. I mean, it is what it is. So, long story short, especially in the professional ranks, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So, I mean, everybody cheats
Exactly.
In some instance or another. I mean, everybody looks for every advantage possible in professional sports, or they wouldn't have a job. So,
exactly. In baseball, like we talk about the Judge home run chase and then Bonds and McGuire and all that. Like, it's a game that's built on kind of cheating. Sign stealing's always been a part of the game, and everyone's fine with it until the Astros decide to do buzzers and banging on trash cans and stuff. They got inventive with it, and they got careless.
People have been sitting in stands stealing signs for years. It's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's whatever. So congrats to the Astros. As a Braves fan, I'm always happy to see the Phillies lose, or someone someone else from the East not win the World Series. So yeah, so it'll be should be a fun off season. A lot of big free agents coming this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. And you got anything else, Greg?
Not a whole lot. It's overall, it's just, I guess yesterday was just kind of a disappointing day,
Yeah.
And, it feels weird this early in the, we've lost 2 before in 2019, but to already be out of it before your last game of the year. It's, it's new territory there, so a little adjusting.
Yeah, exactly. Aside from, the first year of the Saban era, it's only happened now 3 times, 2010, 2019, and now.
Yeah, but even then, we were alive somewhat, even if we had won that won the Iron Bowl in 2010, we had a possibility of something, but yeah, we're dead.
Yeah, I don't think we had a shot at the division, but you take away their BCS title, because back then it was just the 2, so you strip away that, and we get into a BCS bowl at least.
Yeah. So
2019, they still, again,
we beat Auburn at the end there. We may have probably sneaked our way into the playoff as a 4 spot.
Exactly, or again, at worst, a New Year's 6
definitely
bowl.
The first time that we've been out of it since 2007. Well ahead of
this early.
and
well ahead of Thanksgiving and the Iron Bowl weekend. Still, I guess, again, still a New Year's 6 bowl to play for, but like you said, weird, barring and monumental choke job at LSU. I guess, elsewhere, my usual update, Arsenal, still top of the league in England, baby. Beat Chelsea this morning. Just at some point, I expect Man City to overtake them just because Aaron Holland will not stop scoring goals. But one more week there before the break for the weird World Cup, and we'll see about that. Everyone's getting injured. So let's just see how fun that actually is. But all right, Greg, what has been done up real good for you this week?
For me, this week, We just had a really successful month at work. They announced our numbers last week. We hit like all-time records as far as sales. So just, I guess, a lot of hard work and just paying off a little bit. So that was good to see. How about you?
All right. Well, welcome
Yeah.
my baby boy into the world this
Awesome.
week. So can't do up more good
man,
than
that's
that.
top of the world.
It is. It's unfortunate that he had to witness such a horrible first Bama game yesterday. But all right, maybe he'll, by his first birthday, he'll have a whole new coaching staff in
It'll
place.
get better for him.
Yeah. But yeah. So all good for that.
Sure.
It definitely takes the sting away for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a definite. Yeah, helps everything.
Yeah, so that's good. He's here. Mama's home from a long hospital stay for her, so that's good. And so thanks for listening, folks. This has been Taking on Sports. As always, do check out everything we have on the Alabama Take Podcast Network and the alabamatake.com. Got everything you're looking for. Greg, have a great one, and we'll see you next week.